Running isn't for everyone, but for lovers of the sport constantly chasing that runner's high, it's a way of life. Find out more about what keeps them running and why they love it so much on part 1 of this episode of What's the Deal? I'm your host, Chris Rux. Running. Some people do it for fun. I spoke with Matt Balzer, owner of Reno Running Company and a former world-class triathlete. For part 2, I spoke with Vanessa Righeimer, a Nike-sponsored runner and former college athlete. They're two people who absolutely love running, and they shared a little bit about how that love for running started and how they continue to enjoy something that many others find beyond grueling. We talked about shoe recommendations, advancements in shoes, and how to know when it's time to buy a new pair. Shoes are the most important piece of equipment in a runner's arsenal, so we discussed them quite a bit. We talked about so much running awesomeness that this is going to be a 2-part episode. Now let's get to the good stuff. Here's part 1, my interview with Matt Balzer. When did you get started in running? What got you started enjoying running?
Yeah, so my earliest days of running or introduction to running were just seeing my dad run he ran pretty much every morning. He was in the military. He was also training for marathons, so he ran a lot. And I just remember seeing him get up and go through the process every day. And then for me personally, I kind of started running because we got a dog. And, the dog needed exercise. And so my parents said, you better get up and run with the dog every day. And, I just enjoyed it. So it kind of stuck.
That's fun because sometimes that can backfire, right? If your parents make you do something, you end up hating it just, by matter of fact, but you actually really bought in and liked it.
Yeah, this was one of the things where, your parents tell you to do something and it ended up being a good thing and you don't just revolt for the sake of revolting. So I think I love the dog.
Yeah, that helps too. Loving the dog helps. Every sport I ever played, running was punishment. So now running is punishment in my head.
Yeah, I think it's that way for a lot of people. The sports that I kind of did growing up as a kid, that was like, hey, take a lap, you did something wrong. But yeah, I guess maybe having a little natural knack for it made it enjoyable, and now it's just kind of a good way to escape.
Well, especially like you said, it's just something that's just a part of you now. So a day without running or a week without running would be unfathomable to you, I'm sure.
It is. It's something that we do as a family. My wife, our kids, we run together. We, go places and choose spots that we can, easily run from and get cool runs in, or hike, just kind of be outdoors, be active.
I need more of that in my life. I've the few hikes that I've been on, the few, long bike rides that the kids and I have gone on through, like the forest preserves, even things like that. I just get so much enjoyment out of it, and I just don't do enough of it. So I could see where that would be an easy thing to, once you start really liking it, to keep wanting to incorporate it.
Yeah, part of I guess the reason we opened the store was the love for that and wanting to make it just an even bigger part of our lives.
How do you possibly enjoy running?
So, I enjoy running because it's, I think more than anything, it's like a mental escape at this point, that kind of no matter what's happening, the stress that you might carry throughout the day, it's a good way to just kind of go take in some deep breaths, disconnect, as well as celebrate really good times in your life. So it's become one of those things, for myself and for our whole family, just as true enjoyment. I also really like the process of, making goals, achieving them, seeing what your body can accomplish. And, running's a kind of a good way to do that, because for a lot of people, it's very time-based when you're talking about goals, right? All right, here's my goal for that race. This is the time, or this is the place that I want to achieve. And it's not subjective. You do it or you don't, and you can see your progress the whole way.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You got your number or you didn't, and then you try again the next time, and hopefully you get it that time.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I think you're a fairly accomplished runner too. If I've seen that, was it ultra marathons? Was it triathlons? What was your sport?
So after college, I really got into triathlon, and that was, I'd say, where I found the most success. I was a, fairly average or, mediocre collegiate runner. When I graduated, I had a friend that basically just kind of invited me to a triathlon that he was doing. And from that day, it was like, just full send into triathlon. I loved every minute of it. I was horrible, absolutely horrible. I was close to dead last, but I really liked the variety in it between the swimming, biking, running. It was so challenging, so beyond anything that I'd ever done. So yeah, I mean, literally from that day forward, it was like a 15-year journey of multiple hours a day training and racing for triathlons. And it ended up kind of taking me, to multiple countries and a bunch of really cool high-level races. And yeah, it was just awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Did you train for that first race, or you just hop in?
First race was total hop in. I don't, at that point, I don't even know if I was capable of running a mile without stopping. It was, I think, a year or two after I graduated college. And so I wasn't really running much. I was actually like lifting a whole lot. So I was, many pounds heavier than the ideal weight to be like racing triathlon. And yeah, could barely run a mile without stopping. Swimming a 500 was a daunting task. But loved it either way.
So that brings my next question. What's wrong with you? You didn't train for that. You just said, you know what? I feel like drowning today.
Yeah. I think like more than anything, I enjoy doing new stuff. I enjoy doing hard things. I really love the process. Like I love the process of getting in shape for different events. Athletically, I've tried a lot of different things. I think it's just fascinating what the human body is capable of if, you put some like direction and some training and some mindset to it. You can accomplish things that I think for everybody is like beyond their wildest dreams. And so that was like triathlon for me, and why I enjoyed it so much.
Do you compete now still, or are you still doing triathlons, or what's your sport du jour?
So these days, I wouldn't say I'm really competing all that much. I do events just out of like pure love and enjoyment, and like through the stores, we're involved with a lot of events. So I'm there and I'll hop in things all the time. I'm definitely not like, racing, trying to win races, competitive like I used to be, but I'd say I'm close to as active as when I was racing. It's just kind of going out with a different mindset. I go out now just, to connect with friends, to run with my wife, to get my kids involved with it, for my own mental clarity and sanity. And, I find just as much or maybe even more joy a lot of the times doing it that way than racing. The races are few and far in between these days.
I wonder if it takes some of the pressure off. It's just like you said, it's just for the enjoyment factor and not, I really got to beat that time, or I really got to beat this other guy who beat me last time. You can just enjoy it because it's something you like to do.
Yeah, there's a difference between, have to and love to. I don't ever have to go out and do a specific workout anymore. I do sometimes because I want to, or maybe I want to test myself. But more than anything, I just get to go out because it's still today what I really love to do.
So the runner's high is real.
The runner's high is very real. Yeah.
Good.
I don't think I could live without it, honestly.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. What is your favorite distance? I know you do the triathlon, but what is your favorite, if you were to run right now, or what was your favorite distance over the last 15 years? What was your favorite competition distance?
Favorite competition distance, was run-wise was 10K. The events that I saw the most success in from the triathlon standpoint ended up with 10K races. So that was like the Olympic distance is what they call it for triathlon, because it's what they compete in the Olympics. And then where I personally found the most success and the most enjoyment was through Xterra, or off-road triathlon. And most of those end with a 10K trail run.
For those of us that don't know, off-road trail it's literally, instead of city streets, you're running through a trail. And is it biking off-road too then, or?
It is. So it's mountain biking and then trail running instead of road bike, road run.
And then the swimming takes place in a kiddie pool in somebody's backyard.
Floaties, a little bit of
yeah. Exactly. Cool.
Lakes and oceans.
Okay. Very good. So there's no pools involved. It's definitely all natural bodies of water.
Yeah, once you progress past that, first level of competition, there are plenty of triathlons that are pool swims, and that was, the first couple that I did were pool swims. A lot less daunting when you can see the bottom and you don't have hundreds of people climbing on top of you. But you progress from there, and they all become ocean or lake swims.
Hopefully, less sharks, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you run in college?
I did run in college. I ran actually the last 2 years of college, and very different from my, I guess, adult like triathlon and distance running career. I attempted to be a sprinter in college, so I ran the 200 and the 400, and I also threw javelin. So interesting progression going from like 400 runner, javelin thrower to long distance triathlete, marathon runner as an adult.
You think it's all the same? It's just running. It's the same thing, just run longer, and it's completely different, approaches to training and what you're trying to accomplish. So I'm sure that's a huge leap.
Yeah, it was a big leap going from the two. As I mentioned, when I first started triathlon, it was hard for me to run a mile. I mean, as a sprinter, you literally never do that. I mean, we would start every day maybe with an 800-meter half mile like warm-up jog, and then everything else is short, explosive movements with long recovery durations, which is like the opposite of what you do as a distance runner or triathlete.
And javelin, how good were you at the javelin? You look like a javelin thrower. I could see it.
Strangely enough, the javelin was actually my best event from a competitive, like where I would place a standpoint. It came a little naturally to me. I grew up playing a lot of baseball, and that was probably my primary sport. Like as a young kid, I was a catcher for most of the time, so I had a decent arm. And yeah, I mean, you need a good arm and be quick, and javelin ended up working out.
Very cool. I never met a javelin thrower before, so this is fun for me. How many miles a week do you run still?
These days I'm running about 25, 30 miles a week. So, it's all relative. There are plenty of people that are in that 80, 100, 120 mile, and for some 12 is a huge week. These days I run, usually 6-7 miles a handful of times a week. And that works well for me. Injury free, keeps me healthy.
Yeah, at that point, it seems like it's just more of a maintenance thing because you enjoy it, and it's not, like you said, you're not trying to compete again or still. So just do it because you enjoy it and it makes you happy.
Yeah, that's a good find the love spot.
Yeah,
not too much, but it's enough to kind of get that runner's high, the endorphin rush. So.
Less blisters, less shin splints, but still the good cardio work.
Exactly.
Do you do anything else for working out or any other sports that you play currently just to keep busy?
Yeah, so I still ride my mountain bike a lot. That's just always kind of been a part of me. I've been really mountain biking since high school. We had a cool mountain bike team actually at our high school, and I stayed with that and helped ease the transition into triathlon. Still love to do it today. And then, I still go to the gym and lift weights and just, do things more for kind of like full body fitness and mobility, just good overall health.
Yeah, and I can imagine riding a bike, especially out west where the weather's usually less temperamental. You get to explore parts of your town more quickly than running, and you get to see things that you wouldn't see if you were running because you can get there quicker and cover more ground that way, I'm sure. So there's probably a sightseeing bonus from that too.
Yeah, you can really see a lot on the bike. The Reno Tahoe area is one of the most beautiful areas in the world. The mountain bike trails around Lake Tahoe are just breathtaking. You'll be on these ridge lines 1,000 feet above this beautiful blue lake. Even a lot of the trails all around Reno, just kind of breathtaking as well. So it's nice to get out. They're not super crowded, and just kind of enjoy being outside.
Didn't Forrest Gump run through there?
I'm not sure.
I think he might have.
Yes, it's been couple of decades since I saw that.
I watch it every week, and I'm pretty sure he ran through that area. But no, you're right. It is just the vistas have got to be worth it alone.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah. So obviously you own a running, is it fair to say a running store? Is that what you would call your store? A running store?
Yeah. Yeah. We call them specialty run stores.
Perfect. How often should running shoes be replaced? I'm guessing you're going to say daily, so that way your sales go up. But generally speaking, how often should running shoes be replaced?
So that's like the ultimate question. Probably one of the most common we get when customers walk in the store. How often should I replace my running shoes? And I'd say it varies. Depending on if it's a shoe that you wear all day, every day, if it's a shoe that you just run in. The general kind of guidance and consensus is 300 to 500 miles. And so for some, that could easily be a year. For others, that could be 4 or 5 times a year. Maybe even more. Really, it just depends on your use case, and there are some pretty good ways to determine if your shoes need to be replaced or not. But that's a good rule of thumb: 300 to 500 miles.
Is it as simple as wear patterns on the bottom, like kind of like a tire, like a car tire? Is it as simple as that sometimes?
Yeah, that's usually where we start. Is you think about the components of the shoe. So you have the outsole. I'll just grab this one real quick, right? You've got the rubber on the outside of the shoe, or sometimes you can see where there's rubber versus foam. So when that rubber starts breaking down to the point that it's flush with the foam, or all of these grooves are gone and it's smooth on the bottom, that's kind of your first indication that those shoes are well worn. Shoes can definitely wear out before that, because really the secret sauce to all the shoes these days is that midsole foam. That's what's providing you with the cushion and the comfort, absorbing shock, also kind of the rebound, so the spring and the lightness and the energy that you get out of the shoes. And a lot of times that can break down before the rubber, but you get to the point where the rubber has gone flush with the foam or is gone, it's time to replace the shoes.
And without taking the shoe apart, you might not be able to see that midsole foam, so you just kind of have to get used to what it feels like in your mind or what your feet feel like, and know that maybe it's time to change shoes.
Yeah, your body is a really good guide. If you've been running, you've had good luck in the shoes that you're in, and then all of a sudden those little aches and pains start to creep in, that could be a sign that the shoes are ready to be replaced. Another thing that we do is if a customer comes in, a lot of times they'll either bring their shoes or they're wearing the shoes that they've been running in. They'll come in to look for a replacement. Is if you take that model shoe and the old one that they have alongside a new one, and you just kind of flex it, like push into the midsole, the old one typically will just kind of like fold like a pillow. The new one's going to have all of this spring and poppy rebound to it. And so, when customers feel that, it's just like the light bulb goes off in their head and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Well, especially with shoes, because they start to just become a part of your body. They really, they wear into you. They fit you really well. Like if I was to put on somebody else's same size shoe that they've been wearing for 3 months, it's not going to feel the same as it would on my foot. So you just kind of become accustomed to it. And then all of a sudden you realize, well, it's not bouncing back like it should. My ankles hurt a little bit. My shins hurt a little bit. It's time to go change them out.
Yeah, it's a slow decline. I guess it's kind of like getting old, right? You, if you knew what you looked like 20 years ago and you had that picture side by side, there'd be a stark difference. But from day to day, the changes are minor. So it's hard to notice it.
Yeah, you'll catch a picture of yourself from last week and everything looks fine. Then you catch a picture of yourself from 10 years ago and, oh Lord, where did that come from? What happened to me? Should people get fitted for running shoes? Do you recommend that?
Well, we certainly recommend that people get fit for running shoes. That is what we do all day, every day. We go through, our fit process starts with an interview. So talking to people about what it really is that they're wanting to accomplish, like what brings them into the store, what are their goals. That can be wildly different from one person to the next. It could be, I just want to be comfortable on my feet at work all day. I'm an avid walker, I'm a hiker, I'm just getting into running, I'm training for a marathon, or I want to go to the Olympics, right? And everything in between. So that shoe choice can be really different across that whole spectrum of, what an active lifestyle means to that person. And then, add on top of that the differences in everybody's feet and how shoes change from one year to the next. We find that it's very, very important to come in, talk to an expert, get some good guidance on what different shoes will do for them, and then be able to try them all on and find ones that are comfortable and get them excited about going out on that journey every day.
Especially with a sport like running, that might be the only piece of equipment that you actually really need. Anybody can throw on a t-shirt and some shorts, but the shoes are what's going to, really affect you. It's probably the most important decision you're making in terms of equipment.
Yeah, for sure. The shoe, more than anything, is going to determine, one, your success. And when we say, success, that could be a time goal, but for most, it's wanting to stay injury-free. And then ultimately that leads to enjoyment. So if you're comfortable in the shoes, if you're not getting injured, if the experience is what you're looking for, you'll enjoy that. And then, hopefully come back for more, and the whole runner's high will stick and you'll enjoy it for a lifetime.
Yeah, right. If your first day out, everything's hurting because the shoe isn't right, you're less likely to continue trying to stick with it. If your lungs are hurting, that's different. You got to push through that. But if your feet are hurting because the shoes don't fit, well, then you're less likely to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to do that without coming in and trying on a number of different shoes and making sure that those ones you're trying on are even the right shoes for you.
Do you tend to make different recommendations for a novice versus a serious runner?
Sometimes, yes. I'd say one of the biggest differences is that a serious runner, and I would say more than serious, maybe like avid is the right word, because everybody can be serious, but an avid runner that are running different events, different distances, they might have multiple shoes in like their quiver or their tool bag. So they're using a different shoe for just kind of a daily easy run than they are as a race shoe, than they might be using for speed work. So obviously there's a variety of shoes there. If your running goals are just, I want to be injury-free, run 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes per day, that can probably be accomplished with just one shoe that's going to give you the best chance of success for that. The avid runners might have a variety of different shoes depending on what they're trying to accomplish on the day.
That's what's been so enlightening with this process for me is of course there are all different shoes for different things, but it never occurred to me that one person might have multiple shoes for the different things that they're training for. To me, it was always, I wake up, I put on my running shoes and I do my run no matter what the run is, no matter what the distance is, no matter what I'm training for. It's fun to hear that there are differences.
Yeah. And then, even on top of that, then you look at surface differences. That's, it's applicable for us out here. We have trails everywhere. So, what you're going to go run a rocky, rooty, sandy trail is certainly not what we'd recommend doing for a road marathon. Wild differences in the shoe choice there.
Is there a price point below which you can just guarantee that the shoes are junk?
Hard to guarantee that they'd be junk. When we think about new shoes, so the latest, greatest model, those usually a good quality shoe is kind of starting in the $90 to $100 price point, and then moving up from there. And really then you get into like material differences, little more expensive shoes sometimes last a little longer. They have more advanced cushioning systems. I'd say that's probably a good starting point if you're looking for a shoe that's really going to protect you and add to your running experience. But there's also, in most years, a little more challenging this year with supply chain issues, but in most years, there are times when shoes come off price, and there are the previous year models that might be, $130, $150 shoes that can easily be found for well under $100 that are still great shoes.
If somebody's looking to save, is that what you'd recommend then, trying to go with last year's model?
Yeah. Last year's model is a great place to start because you're still getting a really, really high quality shoe at a great price that, stores like ours or the brands are trying to kind of move on from to make space for all the stuff that we put on the walls, which are the latest and greatest.
Yeah, these shoes that I want are the cheaper ones. They're in the back in like broken old shoe boxes. The pretty ones on the wall are the brand new ones.
Yeah, for there's usually a little like this kind of a sale section in a lot of running stores, including ours, or you kind of sell them on the online stores and things of that nature to move through.
What new advancements or technologies in running shoes have happened recently that you can really point to as changing the game?
Yeah, great question, because there have been a ton of changes in running shoe technology. I'd say, maybe one of the biggest ones that's having an impact today started about 10 years ago with the maximum cushion. So the whole max cushion, just getting a shoe with more and more cushion underfoot, help absorb that impact. They pair that now with a rocker sole. So you kind of think more as like, looking at it like the bottom of a bike wheel that can just easily smooth transition. That was one of the biggest ones, which has, trickled into all the different manufacturers now. They have something like that. And then just real recently, and I'll grab a shoe here because it's just wild to see it, are like the inventions of super foam and then carbon plates that brands are putting in the shoes to essentially make like a leaf spring, like a carbon leaf spring that would be in between these layers of foam. So this is the world record setting shoe from Nike. You can see there's the carbon plate. You can kind of see through it. Super, super light shoe and just a ton of foam, kind of that rocker profile, even some, like little tensile springs in the air pocket that they put in there. Just wild advancement in shoes that, can, literally take minutes and minutes off your time. Proven that there's a great energy cost savings in shoes like this. But yeah, they're getting wild. There's still plenty of very traditional shoes. And I use a pretty traditional shoe for my everyday run. And then those are kind of more like the speed shoe that you put on when you want to feel fast or you want to race, or even you're doing a really long run in.
Well, in a marathon that comes down to, it's a 2-hour race for the elite runners, right? But they can be separated by 15 seconds. That shoe's going to make a huge difference if it saves you, like you said, minutes. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, though, like the shoe that I was just showing there, that's, they say about a 4.5% energy savings. So you think of that at time. You could be looking, even as an elite runner, minutes there, right? Even more for just, average everyday runners. If you're in the, 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour, 6-hour marathon, that 4% just kind of keeps going up. And it can absolutely be the difference at the elite level between that, gold medal and being off the podium.
It seems like such a leap that they would try to ban them. Did they ever try to ban them?
There were talks about the super shoes being banned. They never got banned, but they did put some constraints on them. So that kind of, massive leap that we saw really before the 2016 Olympics, that was kind of the start, the Rio Olympics. There were massive leaps, and now they've kind of tapered them off. And the reason for that is they've just put constraints around the shoes. So they're saying 40 millimeter stack height here. That's the highest that you can go. They're limiting it to just one carbon fiber plate or leaf spring. You can't do multiple plates in the shoe. So it just kind of, narrows the advancement that the companies can do. They've got to work a lot harder for those tiny little incremental improvements now. But they're fully accessible. Anybody can use them. And that, when I say there are like constraints around them, that's if you're an elite runner running in international competition. Like, you and I, like, we can run in whatever we want. So they could come out with something that had little rocket boosters on the back. And, so far there's no rules against that.
It sounds like it's a lot like golf clubs, right? I can take any golf club on the course I want. If I want to compete in a PGA Tour event, they have certain things I have to, the certain qualifications and certain measurements and things that I have to meet in order to be able to use it in a PGA event.
Yeah, just like that. The brands, when they're making these shoes, There are a couple shoes out there that don't meet like the international competition requirements. But for the most part, like, you're buying something off the shelf. It's the exact same thing now that you'll see the runners in the Olympics wearing.
Who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Oh man. I mean, maybe a little surprising because I'm, a runner or triathlete, but, growing up outside of Chicago, Michael Jordan, hard one to beat. Just, in my mind, kind of the GOAT there of basketball. Just at that age, I was probably like, middle school and high school, and he's doing stuff that's just absolutely mind-blowing. And then, the commercial, like Mike, if I could be like Mike, and we're all out there lowering our rims and trying to see how far we can dunk. That's like the athlete that just stands out in my mind. Somebody that I've started following a little more recently, just because I feel like he's doing so much with his success, is Shaquille O'Neal. To look at some of the charity work that he's doing these days. The dude is just funny. I think he loves people, seemingly loves life, and just really making a big impact in a lot of people's lives with the charity that he's providing. I think is super cool too. Kind of that same era of Jordan in basketball growing up.
It's one of the things that's so cool about Shaquille O'Neal is he knows exactly who he is. He knows he's super famous. He's got gobs and gobs of money, but he's using a lot of it for good. He's invested in things for himself, of course, but the more he invests and makes money for himself, the more he shares with other people. And it's really fun to see that.
Yeah. As kind of a business owner, I think that's just one of those, ultimate goals where as you see success for yourself, your staff, your business, and then what that's able to do and give back and provide opportunities for other people. He is obviously doing it in an amazing way that's, myself and plenty of others, I guess, strive to be. But I think just the concept of that, the good and the success, financially, athletically that he's been able to parlay into making an impact on other people's lives is just truly amazing.
And then to your point about Michael Jordan, I never realized how spoiled we were growing up in Chicago, seeing him all the time, hearing about him all the time. And then, you just kind of thought everybody did. And, truth be told, he was a world famous superstar. Everybody across the country, around the world loved him. But I never realized just how spoiled we were with the 6 championships through the 90s, getting to witness that firsthand.
Yeah, he was kind of like our guy, right? We got to claim him. So while probably almost everybody on the planet knew who Jordan was, and still probably knows who Jordan is today, he was our guy, right? Like you grow up, you're a Bulls fan, and it makes it pretty easy to cheer for him when you've got the greatest there just performing every single night. It was awesome, and that's why athletically he probably made one of the biggest impacts on me or of any athlete that I can think of. And
my claim to fame now is I'm the same height as him. So that's what I've always enjoyed, is that when everybody goes, oh, so you're 6'6"? You're as tall as Michael Jordan. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I want to see that dunk from the free throw line, Chris.
Not anymore. I used to be able to. And an 8-foot rim, like a little Tykes hoop in somebody's basement, I could have done that. Anything else you wanted to talk about? Anything else you wanted to share? Hit me.
I think overall, just the joy of like spreading the joy and the love of running. It's what we do every single day in our stores. I guess challenge or ask everybody to go out and just, experience it. Get a great pair of shoes, go out and just start. Like it is, for most people, it's going to be difficult. It shouldn't hurt. Like you said, Chris, your lungs might hurt. That's a little part of the process. That's part of the excitement as you see yourself progress and get better. Running, hiking, walking, it can be a lifelong sport that you do. My dad is, in his mid 70s. He still runs multiple times a week. If you take a little time to do it with good form and in a great pair of shoes, it can really be something that you do for the rest of your life. And we get to see that, the excitement and the joy that people get by doing that every single day. And it's probably the most meaningful part of what we do, is just helping people achieve those active lifestyle goals that they have.
You're a pretty fulfilled dude, aren't you?
I am,
Yeah.
I'd say I'm living my dream.
Good.
Every day. I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, good for you, man. That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today, Matt. I really appreciate all your insight. Reno Running Company. Next time I'm out in Reno, I'll be sure to stop by.
Please do.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
So that's part one. More to come next week on part two, including Vanessa's favorite athlete of all time, her favorite shoe of the moment, and a whole lot more. Thanks to Brad's Deals for sponsoring this special two-part episode. Check out the link in the description to find great running shoe deals at Brad's Deals. Thanks to Matt Balzer of Reno Running Company for joining me today. If you liked this episode, like this episode and subscribe to our channel. Until then, this has been Chris Rux for What's the Deal?